Right, so we're going to take a look at parallel and perpendicular lines. To do that effectively, you have to know y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to do a quick review on what that looks like, and these will be the steps. So to put it in y equals mx plus b, which is a slope-intercept form, these will be the steps that you would need to do. So put the equation in y equals mx plus b if it's not already like that. Plot the y-intercept, use a slope to create more points. So it's important for you to know in y equals mx plus b, what is the y-intercept? So the y-intercept is this plus b right here. And the slope, use the slope, right, will be just m, not x, just m. So this is the slope, okay? And you plot the points using rise and then run it. So let's go ahead and follow these instructions to plot this. Please note that you might also need to add an invisible one to make it a fraction. What that means is if there isn't already a fraction right here, in other words, you don't have rise over run, you can make it a fraction because there's an invisible what? 1. So right here, we're going to put an invisible 1. And then to make it a fraction, we're also going to put another invisible 1 because 1 divided by 1 is 1. So those are the invisible ones. All right, let's go ahead and plot it. So you start with the y-intercept. So what's my y-intercept here? 3. So it says plot the y-intercept. So go to 3, y, 3, plot it. And then use the slope to create more points. So rise and run to create more points. I rise 1, I run 1. Up is positive, right is positive. Okay, so I rise 1 and I run 1. If either one of these is negative, you can put the negative on the top or on the bottom, but not both. Okay, so in this case, they're both positive. So rise up, run 1, rise up, run 1, rise up, run 1, rise up, run 1. And you can go the other direction. So instead of rise up, I can say down left, down left, down left, down left, down left, down left. All right, but you only need 2 points to make a line, but that will be the line y equals x plus 3. All right, so graph that line. Now graph a line that's parallel, never meets this line. All right, so for it to never meet this line, let's say let's do 3 down from every point. So 3 down from every point is our new 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3. All right, so 3 down from every point, 1, 2, 3, and those are enough points. All right, so join your line. Use your school ID, a credit card, anything like that, just to draw a straight line. So parallel means, all right, and if you look in the word parallel, you can see 2 lines that are straight like that, right? They never meet. These 2 L's never meet. So parallel means these 2 lines do not meet. All right, so let's take a look at the slope of these 2 lines. So what's the slope of this one? I went 1, 1. So 1 over 1 simplified is what? 1, correct? What is the slope of this line? How am I rising? So let's say from here to here. How am I rising and then running? So I'm rising 1, running 1. So 1 divided by 1 is also 1. All right, so what I want you to notice, so parallel lines that never meet, what can you tell me about the slope? Okay, so look at these 2 slopes. What can you tell me? That they're the same, right? So this has the same. So parallel lines have the same slope. So if they have the slope that's the same, those lines are parallel. All right, we're going to go ahead and do a perpendicular one. Now, this is in the form mx plus b. In other words, it's an x, a slope, and a y-intercept. If you look here, this is just y equals a number, which means it's just this, the b, right? So it crosses at y equals 3, but there isn't an mx. And what does that mean if there isn't an mx? That mx is 0. So the slope is 0 and it crosses at 3. So this is the line y equals 3 that no matter what your x value is, so any x value, let me say x is 3, x is 3, y is also 3. X is 6, y is also 3. So this means no matter what x is, y is equal to 3. So let's say x is negative 3, y is 3. X is negative 5, y is 3. It doesn't matter what x is, y is always equal to 3. And so this has a 0 slope, which makes it horizontal. So that's the line y equals 3. It says graph a line perpendicular. So what does perpendicular mean? It means at 90 degrees, right? So I'm going to plot a line that's perpendicular to that. Let's make it perpendicular at 4. Okay, so I'm going to draw a line perpendicular to that. And all that means is that it meets this line at 90 degrees. Okay, so now that you know that, what is my original slope? We talked about that before. If it's horizontal, right, it's 0. And why is it 0? Because I don't rise at all, and then I run, right? So 0 divided by anything is 0. All right, what about this? Perpendicular, right, is undefined. So this perpendicular slope is undefined. All right, and the reason it's undefined, so I'm going to just make this a side note. So remember, this one is I don't rise at all, right? So this is 0 over some number. Now I'm going to make up the number just so you can see the relationship between the slopes. So let me just say 3, right? 0 divided by 3 is 0, okay? Now, undefined means that you're trying to divide it by 0. That's what undefined means. If you try and put that in your calculator, anything divided by 0 is going to give you undefined. So here's the question that I have for you. For it to be perpendicular, what do you notice about the 0? It went from the top to the bottom. All right, so not only are you going to flip it over, but you're also going to take the negative of it. So for perpendicular, the slopes, all right, the slopes are flipped and change sign. All right, so again, for perpendicular, the slopes are going to be flipped, and then you're going to change the signs, meaning if it's positive, you're going to make it negative. If it's negative, you're going to make it positive. Okay, so again, when you have parallel lines, the slopes are the same. When you have perpendicular lines meets at 90 degrees, you're going to take your slope, flip it, and change the sign. Now, if it's not a fraction, you can make it a fraction by putting a divide by invisible 1. All right, so let's take a look at some examples of that. So find the slope of the line that is parallel to this. So remember, I need to know what the slope is first. So according to the steps, first I have to put the equation into y equals mx plus b. So let's go ahead and do that. We need to put this into y equals mx plus b. That means anything that's not y needs to go to the other side. So I'm going to take this to the other side. It's going to be negative 10x. So I have 6y equals negative 10x minus 96. Divide everything by 6. So this goes away. So you're going to have y equals, and put this in the calculator so it can simplify. 2 goes into that 5 times and into that 3 times. So it should simplify to 5 over 3x. And then negative 96 divided by 6 is going to be negative 16. So now you can see this is y equals mx plus b. Okay, so now I can quickly look at, again, if my line is supposed to be parallel to each other, what can you tell me about the slope? The slope needs to be the same, right? So find the slope of the line whose equation is that. So the slope needs to be the same, so that is the slope, negative 5 over 3. Okay, all right, example 4. Find the slope of a line perpendicular. So remember, for parallel, the slope is the same. For perpendicular, you flip it and change the sign. So first, you got to put it in a way where you can see the slope. So again, let's make it y equals. So take this to the other side. It's going to be negative 3x. That's going to give me negative 3y equals negative 3x plus 18. Divide everything by negative 3. Okay, you're going to get y equals negative 3 divided by negative 3. Just put that in the calculator. It's going to give you positive x. And then 18 divided by negative 3 is going to give me negative 6. So this is my line in y equals m. So what's m? Invisible 1, x plus b. All right, so what do I do to find my perpendicular? All right, so for perpendicular, you take the slope, flip it, and change the sign. All right, so what does that mean right now? I can put an invisible 1 if I need to, right? So 1 divided by 1 is still 1. We're going to flip it, so it'll still be 1 over 1, and change the sign. So it's going to be negative 1 over 1, which is negative 1. So the slope is equal to negative 1. So again, with perpendicular, take the slope, flip it, so it's still 1 over 1, change the sign. So it's positive right now, so it's going to be negative. And then simplify that, it's going to be negative 1. Example 5, which equation represents a line that is parallel? So again, what does it mean for parallel? All right, for the slopes to be the same. So look at the slope, right? and it needs to be parallel to y equals 1. So what's the slope here? Actually, let's go ahead and talk about that. Remember, it has to be in y equals mx plus b, right? Where this is the slope. But I don't see an x in there. There is no x. So what does that mean? That it's 0. So this is really y equals 0x plus 1. So this is your slope right here. Find me the one that has the same slope. In other words, it does not have an x. So it's y equals blank some other number. So y equals, so they're all y equals. Actually, this one's x equals, so that's not it. It should be y equals with no x. Here we have a slope of invisible 1. Here we have a slope of an invisible 1, but we need a slope of 0, so it's none of those. Y equals -7, because you can write that as y equals 0x, because it's not there, minus 7, right? So again, the slope is 0. So this is your correct answer. So actually, let's correct this definition, or let's make it more specific. For it to be parallel, the slopes are the same, but they have different y-intercepts. So we're going to add that here. So slope is the same, but and a different y-intercept. Okay. So slope is the same and a different y-intercept, just in case we need it later on. All right, let's go ahead and do this one. Which equation represents this line? Which equation represents, which is parallel? So this is another parallel one. So what can you tell me about the slopes? They need to be the same. So the slope needs to be that. All right, obviously I can't tell the slope from any of this, so I follow the steps to put the equation into y equals mx plus b first, right? So let's do that. Take our answers. Now, instead of us having to do so much math, let's look at our answers and see what I can do so I can have my slope to be negative. So if I move -6 to this side, is it going to be negative? Yes. If I move 7 to this side, it's going to be negative? Yes. If I move -6 to this side, is it going to be negative? No, because then you're going to divide by +7. So none of these are the answers. So I'm not even going to check those. I'm just going to start with these. I want it to be to where I have 7 on the top, 6 on the bottom. So that means when I take 6 to that side, it's going to be -6 on the top. So I don't want that one. So I'm going to try this one. So I'm going to start off with trying this one. And this is going to save you time if you understand how to look at it, right? So I'm going to start off with here. So we're going to move that to that side. So I'm going to have 6y is equal to -7x equal plus 24. All right, divide everything by 6. So this crosses out. You're going to get y equals, this doesn't simplify, -7 over 6x. 24 divided by 6 is +4. So look at what I have right now. I have the slope that I'm looking for, right? -7 over 6, so that means they're parallel. The intercepts are different. Now, if the intercepts were the same, it would just mean that it's the exact same line. So it would not be parallel. So it's actually very important that you understand parallel means the slopes are the same, but the y-intercepts are different. Because if they were the same y-intercept, they'd be the exact same line. All right, I'll do one more and then you do one. All right, so this one is perpendicular. So again, perpendicular, you have to take the slope, flip it, and change the sign. All right, so which is perpendicular to x equals 5? Okay, so let me just, the easiest way to do this instead of even talking about slope is to just quickly graph it. So x equals -5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No matter what value of y is, x is always -5. That's what that means. So if y is 10, x is -5. If y is -10, x is -5. And you can see that that line is a vertical line. So this is the vertical line. If I want something perpendicular, so if I want something that goes this way, right, like this, that's 90 degrees, it has to go through which axis? Through the y-axis. So this has to be y equals some number. Okay, so it cannot, if I have x equals a number, I have to have the perpendicular one y equals some number. If I have y equals some number, perpendicular is x equals some number. So I need y equals some number. So that means I can't have x equals, can't have x equals, can I have x equals? So the only one that it is this one, y equals. Okay. All right, I did forget to write the answer. This was the answer right here for that one. And then on this last one, go ahead and give this a try. So automatically, you can't start looking at whether it's parallel or perpendicular. So let me get you started. This is perpendicular, which means get the slope, flip it, and change the sign, right? I can't even start answering this question until I know what the slope is for both, so I can compare them. And I need to take whatever the slope is, because this is perpendicular, flip it, and change the sign. So I need to make this into y equals mx plus b, take this 5x to the other side, then get rid of that 2, and then compare those slopes. Did I flip it and change the sign? That would be your answer. So let's practice.